What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this one will break down what's going on with the overall market and talk about why tomorrow is going to be an absolutely massive day for Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and all these different tickers. I'm going to talk about some important levels to watch for and why tomorrow is going to be big with Jerome Powell speaking, as the guy is going to be giving a very, very big speech at Jackson Hole. So I'm going to break down how this could affect the markets, some important things to watch for, and how Powell could end up causing the volatility to increase and other factors like that. But before I do anything like this, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks plus a $50 cash reward. The offer ends in just 7 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, now let's break down the market, what's going on. So tomorrow, the market's going to open at the normal time, and then 30 minutes after open, we have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report, the 5-year inflationary expectations report, and a couple of other pieces of data which are going to cause some volatility. But all of this is going to be nothing compared to what Jerome Powell is about to do. So this is 30 minutes after the market opens. And then after that, 35 minutes after open, or at 10:05 a.m. Eastern time or New York time, we have Jerome Powell giving his speech. And this is going to be very important for Jackson Hole. So during the Jackson Hole event, this is just like an event with a bunch of wealthy individuals coming together to just talk about the economy and whatnot. And what tends to happen is they give us more gauges about what the Fed is going to be doing. The last time Jerome Powell spoke at this event, the market was basically on the run from August. And then that is what played a big role in stopping the rally. And the market ended up sinking very hard. The market dropped like more than 5% or so after the guy started giving this speech. It was pretty crazy. And that drop happened over a period of time, not just like in one day, of course. But the thing to remember when people say things like this and they give these statistics is the context was very different back then, right? We had higher inflation back then. The Fed had to be more hawkish. And that's why Powell was being very aggressive the last time he spoke at Jackson Hole in 2022. Now, this time around, what is he going to be doing? Now, some Fed speakers came today, like Harker, and they said that the Fed should be like pausing very soon. So there's a possibility that Powell could be kind of dovish. At the same time, he could be very hawkish. So I don't really know what he's going to try to say this time around. If he just talks about inflation in itself, he could use the word disinflation. The market could like that. But if he talks about like the current employment numbers, if he talks about how the jobs numbers are looking, the state of the economy, core CPI or core PCE, for example, and other pieces of data like that, then he could be more hawkish. So he has reasons to be hawkish, other reasons to be less hawkish. I don't know what he's going to choose to do. Is he going to try to rug pull the market? We'll have to wait and see. This is going to be very important, and I just want to be clear. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't predict this perfectly. I can't predict what words are going to come out of this guy's mouth. So for that reason, I have to go over like both the like bear and bull cases and then just break down the charts for you guys. I can't really give you guys a confident prediction. It all depends on what this guy says tomorrow. That's really the most obvious and easy way for me to say it. But what I can tell you is that the charts look more bearish so far. SPY is looking more bearish. So is the QQQ and like all these different tickers. We had this nice head and shoulders formation. We're coming down pretty hard. If Powell is very hawkish, the market's going to come down pretty hard. Now, if he's quite hawkish, we could come down to like 433 and retest 431.5 to 430 on SPY. I'm going to be watching, do we form some kind of like divergence for a bounce or not? So we're going to be watching that very carefully. Additionally, if Powell is like really dovish, right? SPY could get a bounce and try to hold above 440 and start pushing back to 442 if Powell pumps the markets. You never know sometimes, so you want to be open-minded just to be safe. Now, from a technical standpoint, it looks like we really need to test this area right here, this like 435 area. So if the market does gap up tomorrow, do we come down to like 435 initially? Do we get like a drop when he starts speaking? Because I think right before he starts speaking, the market may start like cooling off a bit. There's going to be more fear. Some people are going to be selling. But then after, or like as soon as he starts and like afterwards, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if he's going to pump us from like 435 all the way back up to 440. Or if he causes the market to just, continue tanking all the way back down to like the 431 area for SPY. I just don't know. So we'll just have to wait and see tomorrow to see what he causes. This is one of those like unknown events that could be really, a market moving event that could go either way. I'm going to go from here, if anything. Looking at something else such as the QQQ, this is also looking bearish, just like SPY has the same setup. It actually broke below 362 and tested 360, the next level. You can see it right here. I don't know what Powell is going to cause. We could gap up tomorrow because we're very oversold, right? The market could gap up. We could see QQQ open like at 362. Maybe it pops a tiny bit, then just comes down. When Powell is about to start speaking, or a little bit before, we might see the market sell off just a little bit. So we might be in like the 361s, 362s, who knows where. And then if Powell pumps the markets, surprisingly, we could see the QQQ get a nice bounce and start pushing back up above like 366 to try to get back up to 368. And if Powell is like really hawkish, the market could start sinking very, very low, and we could see the QQQ come all the way down to 357, if not all the way down to 355 or lower. That's also very possible. Now, how does this look from a technical standpoint? Based off technicals, we're very oversold, so we should gap up tomorrow just based off TA alone. But this chart looks more bearish in my opinion. Looking at the bearish divergence that formed and seeing the fact that the chart's making these lower levels and really struggling to hold, it does seem like the odds favor more downside, at least just based off technicals for SPY and the QQQ. But just to be safe, we have to watch and see what Powell says. For Apple stock, this thing just continued to drop today. It pretty much just gave away the gains it made yesterday. Pretty crazy stuff. If anything, it came down to about 176, the next support. It actually broke below 177.5. It was stuck there for almost the entire day, just range trading. So after it broke down, here's the thing about it. We're currently sitting at support. We have a gap down here around this 175 area. That suggests to me that more downside is more probable. But before the downside comes, we might see the market kind of like gap up. So we could see Apple try to retest like 177, at least 176.5 to 177 first. But if Powell pumps the markets, surprisingly, Apple could push back to 178 plus and start pushing. If not, if the guy rug pulls the markets, we're going to see Apple come all the way down to 175. Below that, it could come even lower than that to the 174s. It could sink pretty darn low. And if it breaks below the 174s, I would not rule out the possibility of it testing this low right here at like 173.14, maybe even 172, right? That's going to be very, very bad. And this looks very possible, right? This looks more bearish from a technical standpoint. That's what TA is suggesting, that this gap will get filled very soon. So technical analysis tells us we should gap up, maybe sell off a little bit as Powell's about to start speaking. And the odds do favor a hawkish Powell causing the market to drop. But just to be safe, I don't want to say that with high conviction or high confidence. I want to be open-minded when the time comes. When we approach Jerome Powell's speech, I personally am not going to be holding too many positions. I'm going to just hold a very minimal amount of them because I just don't know what's going to happen, right? If the market starts sinking hard, I could scalp here and there, but I don't plan on just like holding for the long term through this. When it comes to like options or trying to swing trade, I would rather just like scalp, be prepared to get out quickly because you never know what the market's going to do, and just be very open-minded. The odds do favor Powell causing more downside, but just to be safe, you want to watch your levels. For Nvidia stock, this thing almost gave away the gains it made from yesterday. So very, very interesting stuff. For Nvidia, I would say this is looking a little bit more bearish. It came down to this imbalance right here. Got very high volume selling today. It wasn't looking that great. Looking at the overall structure, this also doesn't look that great as well. I would say that it really depends on Powell. So if Powell causes a pump, 480 plus could come, followed by like 490. And if he, rug pulls the markets, it could also come all the way down to like 460, if not 456 to 452. It looks more bearish to me, though. From a technical standpoint, it looks a little bit more bearish. I would say that we should gap up to like 475 or so. And then maybe when Powell starts speaking, when we get very close to it, starts selling off just a little bit around this 470 area, maybe a little bit lower. And if it starts selling off with Powell, I'm going to be watching 456 to like 452. I think that area could be tested on Nvidia. That seems a little bit more probable, even based off technical analysis, because you could see this bottom right here. Also, this previous resistance becoming supported at like 465 could be tested. We're going to be watching these levels and waiting to see what Powell ends up saying. But I do want to note that the odds do favor downside as of right now. And we have to be open-minded no matter what. Tesla also doesn't look that great for the bulls because here's the reason why. When you look at this chart carefully, you will notice that we formed, it doesn't show on here, but we actually formed a bearish divergence on our MACD and also on the RSI. So we have a bearish divergence on Tesla. Tesla got this big rejection, and this is forming kind of like a double top, a slanted double top right here. And it's forming kind of like an M shape. And what tends to happen is we see more selling pressure because Tesla has a big gap all the way down around like the 215 area. The last time I checked, it looks more bearish. It really does look more bearish to me. We did manage to close above 230, which is a decent sign. So we're going to be watching what Jerome Powell causes. If Powell causes a pump, Tesla could make its way back up above like 235 and 238. If it holds 238, that's going to be in favor of the bulls for the imbalance fill for 240 plus. If it breaks down with Powell being hawkish, we're going to be watching Tesla break and hold below 230. If that's the case, then 225 is going to come. If 225 to 226 ends up failing, it's actually a range. If that fails, then 221 is going to come for Tesla. And if it breaks below 221, I think it's going to fill the gap all the way down to 215. So what looks more probable from a technical standpoint? To be honest with you, I'm going to be unbiased here. The odds favor this thing kind of like gapping up a little bit, getting a little pop in like the 230s, maybe selling off when Powell's about to start speaking. And then when he starts speaking, technicals are suggesting that we're most likely going to see Tesla sell off more. That seems more probable based off this setup. Not a guarantee though, because technicals are not everything. Technicals are not going to give you everything you need to know, but that seems more probable looking at this setup. So it looks more probable that Tesla's going to break all the way down below 225 and retest 221 or lower, coming down to this imbalance right here at 221. That seems more likely for tomorrow, but just to be safe, we'll see what Powell says. All right, so I went over the main ones I typically go over. Now for just a few others like Microsoft, same thing. Could gap up tomorrow. It's very, very oversold on the smaller time frames. Could gap up and try to retest like 322.5 if it gets a rejection off that. If Powell is very hawkish, it's going to come all the way down potentially to about this low right here, like 317 could come, if not 315. If he causes a bounce, it should try to hold above 324. So far, it's looking more bearish. For AMD, Powell could cause this thing to push back up above 104. If he's very hawkish, however, it's going to break all the way back down to like the 98 area, if not 94. It could come below that. So be very careful with this. You never know what Jerome Powell is going to cause. For Netflix, it's no different. If Powell pumps us, 415 could come. If he causes a rug pull, I'm going to be watching 398 or lower for Netflix. It could break below 398. So be careful. It looks more bearish from a technical standpoint. Maybe the market knows something, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But it looks more bearish. It looks like the odds favorite breaking below 400. But just to be safe, we have to wait for Powell. For the VIX is currently holding up quite nicely. Looking at it, we're going to be watching to see if the VIX could try to get a breakout. It's going to retest most likely around this. It's currently at resistance around like 17.5. If it manages to break above that, then 18 is going to be the next level on it, 18.05 or so. We will see if the VIX continues to go up. It is looking like it's trying to bounce right now on the 4-hour time frame. So that is favoring downside for the markets. But once again, it depends on Powell, so that doesn't guarantee anything. The dollar closed above 104, which is not a good sign for the markets or for the bulls out there, because if the dollar keeps remaining strong like this is going to be a bearish signal. And the dollar is gaining some strength closing above 104. If it keeps going, if it keeps shooting up for like 104.2 and the list goes on, that could be a bearish signal for the markets. Maybe Jerome Powell will move it, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. For Coinbase, if Powell causes the rug pull, it's going to come all the way down to the next level at 71. And below that, there's 70, then 68. If we pump, we're going to be watching it get above 74 and potentially 75.8. Right now, it's looking a little bit more bearish. The odds do favor downside, but just to be safe, watch for Powell. For Google, it's the same thing. If we get this big rug pull because of Powell, I'm going to be seeing this thing come down to 127, very close to our 200 EMA. If Powell causes the push to the upside, we're going to be watching 132 plus could come. It could break above 132. All depends on Powell. For Amazon, it's no different. Very similar levels as Google, which is pretty ironic. If it breaks to the upside, you're going to be watching and try to get back above 134.5. If it breaks down, watch it break all the way down to 130 or lower. And for Meta, it actually held above 285, which is not too bad for it, but it is looking more bearish right now. If Powell gives us a pump, we're going to be watching and try to get back above 290, then push for 293. If Powell causes the rug pull, Meta's going to come all the way down. If it breaks below 285, it's going to come all the way down, in my opinion, to like 280 flat, then potentially 274 below that. How does it look right now? It looks more bearish. Like I said before, every stock or almost every stock out there looks more bearish. That runs in unison with the market. Most stocks are looking more bearish right now. They should gap up a little bit, but then we'll see what happens after Powell. Right before he starts speaking, we may see the market sell off a bit. Be very careful when trying to trade during the time he's about to speak. I could still be scalping and doing things like that, but I really don't know what he's going to cost. I don't know if he's going to be hawkish or not. And because they're unknowns, I'm just going to like keep my trades to a minimal, at least during the time he's speaking. And just be careful. You never know what he's going to cause. Watch it all very carefully and be patient in a market like this. Okay, I'm not trying to like disencourage you from like trading or doing anything like that. You can trade as much as you want. I just want to let you know what the risks are, because sometimes there's some instances where it's very, very risky to be trading. Today, for example, was not that risky. Like we knew the direction. I called the downside in the morning. It wasn't as risky, it wasn't as difficult, but tomorrow is going to be more difficult with all the volatility thanks to Powell. So just know it's going to be more risky, it's going to be tricky. So just be prepared for that and do what you have to do, guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Tesla in the market to the moon. Until I see you guys again, thank you and peace out.